Over the last few decades, we've seen the rise of public nastiness and coarse put-down in how we relate to each other. Rugby fans speak of this as playing the man, not the ball. Today's reading acknowledges its presence even in places like churches. Language creates the kind of world we inhabit. How can each of us watch our words, intent on creating an environment where civil discourse is courteous, or better still, courageous and compassionate? We glimpse its ugliness when the scribes and the Pharisees catch a nameless woman in the very act of adultery, yet they don't even mention the man. Then we hear that the law of Moses commanded us to stone such women. Well, that's a convenient get-out-of-jail card, if there ever was one. The law of Moses made me do it. Therefore, I can't be held responsible for my actions. Furthermore, they said this to test Jesus. They watch him closely, not in order to learn anything, but in order to catch him out. Gotcha. Meanwhile, his response is to bend over and doodle in the dust. What does Jesus write? We don't know, but there have been many guesses. He could have pinned a sin on each of their names, but that seems unlikely, for it would see Jesus caught up in retaliatory relating, which is the cause of the ugly scene in the first place. What if Jesus is in fact merely doodling in the sand? That's an unexpected, a destabilising response to a barrage of threats. Each person has to bend over if he is going to see what Jesus has doodled in the sand. Have you noticed the changes in body posture throughout the story? The crowd sits. The scribes make the woman stand. Jesus bends down. Then Jesus straightens up. And once again, Jesus bends down. The scribes go away. The woman is standing before Jesus. Jesus straightens up. And finally he says, "Go your way." There's a lot of movement in the story, and yet only one person is truly moved, the woman caught in adultery. The rest of them stand, sit, or straighten up. As the story opens, it's clear that the woman isn't going anywhere. Her very life lays in the balance, that is, until she encounters Jesus. He relates to her as he relates to Moses and Elijah on the mountain. Whereas the scribes imply that she's going nowhere, Jesus' final words to her are liberating. "Go your way," he declares. With these words, she's free to go somewhere with her life. And he adds, "Don't allow yourself to be constrained by sin." This story has a different ending from what the scribes had anticipated. Once again, stones enter the narrative. Remember the first temptation of Christ? To turn stones into bread. Although she remains a nameless woman, Jesus inserts heart into the story between his bending over and his straightening up. And he asks her most civilly, "Where are they?" In all the odd posturing, the scribes clearly see that they haven't got a leg to stand on. Jesus turns the blame and shame game on its head by asking her, "Has no one condemned you?" "Neither do I condemn you." The final posture is go, as in go home, or as in go on to become more than you ever dreamt of becoming. The scribes and the Pharisees go off one by one. Does Jesus have a word, a liberating word for each of them? And for each of us too?